Hi everyone, so I'm Loran and I'm joined by Benita today. We're both part of the
Hello.
well-being. Oh, say hello, Benita.
Hi.
Both Benita and myself are from the well-being and equality team, and we just wanted to talk a little bit about Mental Health Week today. So we'll be talking about how we've experienced different treatment of mental health in different communities and cultures, and just share a few of our own stories and opinions on it. So welcome, and I hope you guys have had a great Mental Health Week so far. So, Benita, I guess we'll just start with you and maybe your own experience and like how you maybe just overall have seen mental health be like treated and how conversations about it have gone, either within your community or your culture. Like, how do you think that has been, and maybe what it might differ from what people would expect?
Yeah, it's very different because me, like, I'm born in Ireland, but my parents, they're born in Congo.
Mm,
So I see both sides of it. So like for me here, like I know like when I went to school, like primary school, secondary school, and college, like mental health was like such a big thing. It's like your well-being is more important than anything else.
yeah.
Where for my parents, it was more like if you're going through something, you their first thought is to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, keep it on the inside.
Yeah, keep it on the inside.
Keep
Don't share with nobody. Don't speak to nobody. Don't say nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
Like, and that was kind of like their view on it. So, especially for them coming to Ireland and like, they're raising children who are very like passionate about their mental health, like other
Yeah.
people's well-being. There was like a huge culture clash there as well.
Yeah, that
Like,
must have been so weird for you to be like kind of torn, because at home your parents are maybe used to like being like quite silent about these things, but then in school you speak about them, so you're just like, is it okay to speak about
yeah,
it? Is it not? Like, what am I supposed to do?
yeah, you get so like, I don't know if I can go home and say this. Like some things would be like, I hear my friends like, yeah, I told my mom this was going on, but she
Yeah.
wasn't really understanding. And I'm like,
You told your mom what?
you said this. I don't think, and it's not like it's my parents' fault that they don't know anything about it. It's just how the culture kind of is. It's kind of like
Yes, yeah.
you they don't speak about it. Like if you're going through something, you really keep it to yourself, especially like being like a woman, especially.
Yeah, like put
Um,
your head down, work, do a
oh
good job.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
don't let them see you crack. Like, you just got to keep going.
You got to keep going, keep quiet, keep it pushing. Even if you're overwhelmed, stressed, you just got to keep going. Like, or even like we have this thing, like if you're a married woman and like there's something going on in your house or something, and like your husband does something wrong to you or vice versa, you're like, you better stay there and you better deal with the consequences. No
Yeah,
matter if it affects you, keep on going.
and that's
And
crazy to me. That's something I see in South Africa a lot, is
yeah.
that like women in South Africa, like we have such massive amounts of gender-based violence and emotional
Mhm.
abuse, and it's like almost that like, I know normally like people who survive abuse are really scared to speak up, but
Yeah.
especially like in South Africa, and maybe like in your experience in the Congo too, it's almost like a very shameful thing to admit, like that you have
Yeah.
somehow like not been able to withstand this, like you are like now cracking under it and need to leave or need to speak about it, like, which is insane if you say it out loud.
Like first it sounds so like, yeah, that's so normal, but to somebody else it's like, this is not healthy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
is this what they're used to, is what they know, which is like now realizing that with us, like a lot of European children, like with who are coming from families like from a foreign background or who are not
Mm.
born in Europe, like they would say like it's so different because now a lot of us would be like, oh no, I will not do anything unless I'm happy with it, or if I'm
Which is
I'm
great,
satisfied
yeah.
before I do for anybody else. Where our parents would be looking at us like, this is not the way I raised you, this is not the way it should be. So it's
Yes, like happiness was not a
yeah,
conversation for many of my friends and their parents at all.
yeah.
It was like, what is going to make you money? Because we have obviously a very volatile economy. So it was
Mhm.
never ever a conversation of like your mental health and your happiness, like be it your career path or what you wanted to pick in school or whatever. Like the first like thing in your mind would be like, can you make a living? Can you make money?
Yes.
And maybe at the end of the day, a little bit like mental health would come into play, but like
Yeah.
it's very weird because for you it seems like school like was the forefront of your mental health education, whereas for us school was probably never a place we really spoke about mental health, except once or twice a year when a guidance counselor would come in and just be like, are you guys okay? You know, but it would just be like,
okay, bye.
It would never be a conversation in school. For me, the conversation was actually, weirdly enough, more from my mom, because she herself like struggles with anxiety. So from when I was little, she would like tell me like, this is what it feels like to have anxiety. Like, if you ever feel like this, you must tell me. Like, if you ever worry about your mental health, we speak about it. Whereas like at school, it was very like quiet. Like, if you wanted to cry, you would go to the bathroom and cry. You know what I mean? Like, you don't cry in public.
No, I agree with you. I just think it's just based on, especially the environment that you're in. Like, that's how like a culture will view like mental health itself.
Yeah.
Because like I could say the same like with my mom as well. She's always say like, she used to be a person that keeps everything in, but then she was like, oh, it was to the point like it got so bad and she needed help. So then she started speaking to me for help, and she was like, oh, that's one thing I regretted. Like, I wish I took the advice of like Europe and said, if you are not good, don't come into work, or you're not good, take some time out. Where she before, like, that's not how her parents would have told her to do it. So it's so different, and it's something that is actually kind of interesting to see as well.
And like for me, if you're missing college or missing work or missing school because your mental health is that bad, like, it's already too far. Do you know what I mean? Like, you should be dealing with that way before. You should be dealing with your mental health just like at the beginning, where something feels a tiny bit wrong. And I feel like, especially like in Africa, it's something that like is not acknowledged until it's at the breaking point. Like, maybe if you were at the breaking point, it would be a conversation, but it would never be like, I'm a little bit stressed or I'm feeling really down. Like, that would never pass as an excuse to need a day to get yourself together, you know, which is quite sad that you have to be at the breaking point, you know, for it to be acknowledged publicly that maybe it's okay to feel that way, you know. And like, so your parents would never really speak about it to you if they were struggling with something, or if they saw you struggling with a mental health issue? It would not be like a free-flowing conversation, really.
No, definitely not. Like, and it's not like I don't blame them for it, because it's kind of like we're even though I'm their kid, but I'm European and they're not. So it's just a huge different. That's where we differ a lot. So like I'd never go up to my parents and be like, oh, this is what's going on. Like, help me out. Like, I know like our parents have the best advice most of the time, but sometimes it's kind of like, I know the response you're going to give, and I don't think that response is very soothing or comforting to what is going on. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't do well today, but like, just say if I don't do well in an exam and I'm like so overwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't know like why I couldn't do well. It's like, well, why don't you not just study harder?
Yeah, you're like, this is not helping me at all. Yeah, and I think it's not like, when, you know, you say you feel like you can't speak to your parents about mental health issues, I don't think it's that they would ever intentionally dismiss it, right? It's more that they don't have the tools to address it.
Exactly.
Because, you know, it's like, you can't build a house if you never learned the tools. Like, if they've never learned the tools to speak about and deal with mental health issues, like, you know, it's hard. How can they deal with it for you, you know?
Yeah, so it's kind of like they're learning as well. So like, when you even think of it, it's like them coming, just say my parents, since they came here, like, they're still adapting, they're still learning to new changes of like the customs of living in Europe, but mental health and just life in general. So if I say like, there was even a day, like, I remember I was struggling so hard for one of my exams, and I was like, I can't, like, I was so overwhelmed. And my mom was like, I told my mom, oh, I didn't do well in this exam, but I tried so hard. But my thought was, her response was going to be like, why didn't you not do well? But she was like, no, I see that you're trying hard. And it was like, oh my God, she's changing. Like, her views on mental health is changing. So it really depends like on where you are, because if she was back home, this is not the response I would have gotten. It's just because of the environment that she's in, and seeing that mental health, especially with Ireland, which I kind of like really like about Ireland, like, mental health is a big thing. Like, you'll have like weeks like mental health week that we're doing now, or Blue Mondays.
This would never happen back home. Like, I would lay that out there. Like, if someone from South Africa hears this and they've experienced mental health week, I'll apologize.
I apologize as well.
In my 18 years there, I never even had a mental health day. Like, you know, which is, it's so crazy because like obviously you can see, like you say, you see your mom changing, and it's great because that's why like even little podcasts like this, even if only a few people listen to it, it's like it's a conversation, and it's a
Yeah.
conversation with specific like words and specific things that we're emphasizing, so that maybe other people can take this when they speak to other people about mental health. And it's
Yeah.
like it's learning, it's like it's almost like a different language and like a different like
It is.
technique to like learn to speak about these things in a way that is comforting to people, but it's also like addressing issues and not skirting around them either.
Very true.
It's a weird balance to get, but I think like we crack it over time, you know.
They're in mental health 101 where we're kind of more advanced because like it's what we're told. Like I don't think there is even a week or a month that you would go to school here and they don't tell you about mental health, or you don't see a poster,
Yeah,
especially with DBS. Like you'll see posters everywhere about
yeah,
mental health, or
courtesy of us.
courtesy of us. Yeah. But yeah, but which is so good because you'd see like you never know, like since we're especially that we're in international college, you never know that they could be like, okay, I'm not at home, so nobody's going to come and give out to me that I'm going to speak to somebody about how I'm feeling.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of like it's good that now like they're realizing that mental health is not like a taboo thing. Like people go through it. Like if it's not weighed like somebody's one is better than the other. Like
yeah,
if you have something to say, speak up, even if it's something like I'm stressed about exam. Like if that's affecting how you are operating every day, then talk about it. Find a way that they can help you get through it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
which is so good that especially with Ireland like and DBS, like there's things like that where it allows you to speak about it, but where in different cultures or different places it's not the same. So to be able to come to a place where you're able to express it, like
it's
it's a
great. Yeah.
huge thing. And
And that's, yeah, that's
it
like
can be
also what I'll
praised.
say about DBS is like
Mhm.
not only is it a platform that you can speak on, but like something like I felt maybe I had a platform at home to speak if I was you know, battling with my mental health. But one thing that I lacked at home and I feel like DBS gives is not just a platform, but like actual strategies to deal with mental health and like
Yeah.
maintain your mental health. Because, you know, like when I would speak to my mom about mental health, she would be as open as possible, but like, you know, I think even she didn't know how to look after her mental health. And I wish
Yeah.
conversations about therapy and self-care and exercise and eating right, and you know, not that any of those things can cure
Yeah.
mental health issues, but like those things, if you start doing them like every day and focusing on them, it helps. It's like alleviates a little bit of maybe the other stuff that you have to deal with, is if you just start having open conversations and
Yeah.
get the tools. Like, you know, like we never really had conversations about like how important it is to exercise, how important it is to take pride in something you're doing every day, or have do one little thing that makes you happy, or do
Yeah.
something that, you know, that you can like hold your head up and say like I did this great today, you know.
Mhm.
So for me growing up, I felt like I could have the conversation, but then I never had the tools to like then deal with
Yeah.
what I needed to after that conversation. Whereas like I think we focus on the tools a lot at DBS, which is great in our roundtable talks and like the
Yeah.
mental health stands and Blue Monday and all those kind of things. Like we try to promote not just speaking, but then also like strategies to try feel better, you know.
No, I definitely agree. It's a balance. Like you need the tools, but you also need an open space to speak as well.
Yeah,
Like, which is I think is a huge thing that is so important. And
yeah,
like for different cultures, they don't have that opportunity, which is it's kind of sad to see. But they're not, like I say all the time, like it's not their fault that they don't know or they don't have the tools or they don't have the opportunity to speak about it, because it's like something generational. Like if
yeah.
their
It's
parents would have said
definitely
to them,
generational. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you, but like that is such a like important word there. It's like
yeah,
it's so generational a lot
yeah,
of the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
because their parents probably didn't teach them. So it's kind of like, how are you going to teach your own children, or how are you yourself going to express or talk about a topic, or give your child tools or give yourself tools if you don't know about it, or you
yeah,
never got the opportunity to speak about it, or you were shunned for having an issue? Because a lot of people think like, oh, if you are struggling with mental health, like I can say for based from like the Congo, like if you have mental health, now it's better. But before it used to be like, oh, you are like you are possessed, like there is something wrong with you, like
yeah, because
you
people
are,
don't understand it, so they attach
yeah,
it to anything that they know to try and make sense of it. Like it's not ignorant at all. It's them like using what they can to like make sense of it, you know.
yeah. It's kind of like don't go near that person, whatever
Yeah, which is
unhappiness.
horrible. That's like the last thing you need if you are already struggling,
Yeah, which is kind of hard. Like, but the thing is, like, they don't get it. They don't see it, because it's kind of
Yeah,
like, oh, if that person is struggling with some mental health issue,
yeah,
stay away from them, because you don't know what spirit they're carrying to be having these issues.
yeah. And like
It's
obviously
us.
I know that like here in Ireland it would not be the same like stigma around it and there are
Yeah.
more platforms. But I will also say that like there's such a far way to go when we
Mhm.
have like mental health discussions in Ireland because like even now the statistics show that like people of color, even in Ireland and in the UK and in America, like
Mhm.
they suffer more from mental health issues and they also have less access to mental health support.
Very
And that's
true.
true for Ireland as well. And I think it's so sad that like we are having these conversations but like then when we skip over to like let's say like the therapy side or the mental
Yeah.
health support side, like I think it was something like 91% of like therapists in America are white, and I think there was similar statistics for that in Ireland and in the UK. And it's sad to see that like there's not that representation in like mental health supports because obviously there's certain issues that like white therapists couldn't understand of people of color. Like they can't
Mhm.
pretend to understand the way that you walk through life and the things that
Very
like
true.
you might have faced. So how can they, I'm not saying every like therapist has to have gone through what you've gone through,
Mhm.
but I do think like even in therapy, like it's the same way that in healthcare, like there needs to be representation, for doctors. There needs to
Yeah.
be representation for therapists because it's just a different perspective. And I think it would be like a lot more helpful in treating like mental health issues, especially where there are communities where there's such a stigma. I don't know if you agree if that's important
No,
or not.
I 100% agree with you, because like, just for me, like, I study psychology, so I'm all about the mind. Like, me, I'm a huge person about mental health. So it's kind of funny for me, because a lot of my family, like, since like they don't understand like mental health, or like, oh, people of color shouldn't be going through things, like, your parents told you not to do this, don't do it.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
so different. So when my family or my mom's friends or my dad's friends see me and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I do psychology. They're like, but colored people don't have problems. I'm like,
So it's even quite like weird for them that you're studying what you're
yeah,
studying.
they
I
find it
didn't think
so
about
weird.
that. Yeah, actually, I didn't even think about that. But now I'm sure they will slowly come around to the idea as you explain, more and more what you're doing.
Yeah, like, some people will be like, oh, makes sense. It's good that we have like an inside person, where other people would see it as like, oh, you're just trying to look for money out of us.
Oh yeah, which is a horrible way for you to feel about that,
Yeah, and I'm like,
because
thank
you're very
you.
proud about what you do and you're very good at what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
so
that's
it's
why I
different.
think, yeah, we need more push. Like it's definitely good in Ireland, but it's not there.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think like when we have conversations like this, it's really good because maybe someone at home hears this and they realize maybe their
Yeah,
parents don't, are a little bit more like yours and don't have those conversations with them, and maybe it helps them empathize more with the
yeah,
parents to understand maybe it's not their fault, and also understand that their parents aren't the only source of comfort. Like there is
yeah.
college supports that can help them, their friends can help them. Like it's just a conversation with anyone, who's willing to listen and willing to be open
Very true. I agree with you.
about this. But yeah, I think this has been a really successful mental health week, and I really hope some students have gained some things from it. And maybe we can just, before we leave, remind students who did listen to this about the mental health supports we do have available at DBS. So we have myself and Benita on the Wellbeing and Equality team. You can
Yeah.
find us anywhere around campus, on the posters around campus. We'll be in the office on the fourth floor, in the common room on the fourth floor. Find one of us or anyone from our team and we'll direct you in the right way.
Hmm.
We have Nightline open from 9 to 2:30 a.m. So they're a call and text messaging service that's completely confidential. And if you have any issues with your mental health, you can message them after 9 p.m. And then we also have My Mind, which is a counseling service that we partner with, and you will get like I think it's your first 5 or 6
Yeah, you
sessions
have
from
six
them,
or six.
6 sessions completely free from them as well. So that's a great thing that DBS offers as well. Benita, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, but
No, I think we've covered everything, besides to say that everybody's mental health is important. Nobody's one is way better than somebody else's. And if you do need to speak, like Lauren said, the resources are there and you know where to find us as well.